This is Craig. This is Just Genealogy, and welcome to live stream. Okay, freeform. Now we're good to go. Both of you know me very well. Catherine, on the other hand, doesn't know me very well yet.
She'll learn.
Yeah, eventually. What do we want to start?
Craig is speaking to my group tomorrow, so.
Oh, nice.
And she lives over in Lee County,
Mm-hmm.
across on
Cape Coral.
Cape Coral side, on the Gulf Coast side of Florida.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm on the east.
What?
Well, when I was talking to you about Merritt Island, that's what I was talking about, because she's on the East Coast.
Okay.
She's got an armoire and a bed that she can't get Goodwill to pick up. They don't want it. So I said convert it into a bookcase.
And I'm thinking about doing that and throwing away the headboard. The guy at Goodwill said, well, you can put it out, because I said, if I can't find anybody to take it, it's going to have to go to the curb. And he said, it'll disappear that way. I said, yeah, except that this time of year, it's raining every day, several times a day. So I don't want to put it out if it's going to get wet.
So they would take the tent you put over it and leave it behind.
Exactly. So no, I don't think so. So it'll stay in the house for now, except that I've got one piece in the living room, 2 pieces in my bedroom, 1 piece in the family room.
Well, I think there's a rule in genealogy that you can never have enough bookcases.
It's a good rule.
And you remember one of the women that used to sit at the GPC booth all the time that died a few years back in 2015? Her husband would only let her have 1 bookcase.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's cruel and unusual punishment.
It is. When he died, she got 8 bookcases.
My husband has said that, and he doesn't like the stacks of books everywhere.
Well, telling the solution is bookcases. Turn on your camera.
Right.
And we can see you. Is your camera working?
No, if I turn it on, everything goes all wonky and it shuts down. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's the solution if he doesn't want, but piles are places where genealogical material is stored.
Yeah, but then it's hard to find them.
You just have to
if you want the one on the bottom, you have to move everything to get it.
No, I'm well aware of that. As you can see, I'm surrounded by piles.
I'm in pretty good shape right now.
Just when I think I'm caught up, I mean, these are North Carolina marriage books that have just come in that I didn't have before. So what do we want to talk about today? I'm anxious to talk about things. You know, I did that talk on Canadian American soldiers in the Canadian Expeditionary Force a couple of days ago, and found out that the attestation papers are on Ancestry.
Wow.
I didn't know that. And there's something else that would have been helpful to know when I did that talk, that they were on Ancestry. The problem is I'm doing these things just off the top of my head, and my head isn't as big as it used to be. So
this is about World War II instead of World War I. But in 1940, my father, before he married my mother, told her that if she didn't marry him right then, he was going to Canada and join the Canadian Royal Air Force. And so she married him, so he didn't. He later joined the Navy.
Later joined the Navy. Yeah. Well, I have a friend who, so this is Pauline up in Massachusetts. You remember Pauline, right? Dot?
I think so.
How do you know Pauline, Diana? Did Jana tell you?
Yeah.
I think Jana did
Sounds
tell you.
familiar though. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So Jana's father's brother was a pilot in World War II, and while he was in training, he dated a woman by the name of Pauline.
Hmm.
And they sort of kept in touch when he had to go elsewhere, but he was killed in an aircraft accident, and her mail to him kept being returned. So finally, she got in touch with the family and found out what had happened. Well, we went to Massachusetts in 2018, I guess, maybe 18, 17, and met up with this woman who was Jana's uncle's basically girlfriend. And of course, she had married and had children, all that kind of stuff. But she behaved like it was yesterday. It was obvious that she really liked this pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Remembered everything about him and all that kind of stuff. And I think she turns 100 this year,
Oh, wow.
but I'm not sure of that.
My father and my father-in-law were both in the Navy.
My father was the gunnery officer on a destroyer escort and they were off the coast of Africa, and he was the gunnery officer, and he was the one who did the hedgehogs and the depth charges that disabled the U-505, so it had to come to the surface and be captured. That was the high
Wonderful.
point of his life.
The high point of his life. I think one of the high points of my life was being able to put this hat on about 34 years ago, and those words "retired" across the top. What actually made my entire day. There's a picture of me on the front of the second section of a Navy Times article, which says Navy genealogist works from BOQ room or something like that. And
Wow.
so here I am sitting in my BOQ with all my files and all that kind of stuff. And the day after it comes out, my executive officer says to me, "Get all that crap out of there. It's a fire hazard." So I moved. I moved out into the civilian community with all my crap.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting. In fact, I still have those filing cabinets are in a room here in the warehouse, full of Scotland name study materials that I still don't know what to do with. I have my the scanner here in the warehouse and the book scanner, and I was thinking that I just need to really scan all of it. But who has time? I mean, because
Really?
that doesn't build revenue, whereas plugging North Carolina marriage books in does, theoretically. But anyway. Oh, come on, people. We got to talk about something.
I'm about halfway through the third book.
Which one are you going to do it? Which county is this?
Wapello.
Buffalo.
It's Ottumwa, where Radar O'Reilly was from.
Ah. Okay. These are, for y'all don't know, this will be her third cemetery book in Iowa,
Yes.
based on WPA records. And what
I
county
only
are you
have
going
60 or 70 to go. I'm sorry?
to? Well, as I say to a lot of people, in fact, quite often when they finish a book, what's your next book going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And they go, "I'm too old to do another book." I said, "You're too old to die too. Let's get another book in you so that you have something to do." Because if you once you're working at tempo, if you stop working at tempo, it causes problems.
Yep. I agree with that.
I have
I
ancestors.
don't know which one's good. What?
I had ancestors that are buried in Henry County.
In which county, Henry?
Yes.
I don't think I have anybody in Henry, and I think that might be one of the ones that WPA skipped.
Oh,
I
I
have
don't
been
think I've seen.
I've been to those ancestors in Henry County.
yes.
But what I remember most about going to Henry County is not far from that cemetery, there was a guy who sold mead. So I bought a case of mead, and every time I drank mead, it gave me a headache.
Oh dear.
He was my contact when I called. I know out about getting the headstone placed there.
Oh, is that how Janet knew him? Because he was your contact.
Yeah.
Well, the bottles from that mead were the glass bottles with the tops that flip.
Oh, yeah.
So she's going to use those to make some sort of something. I don't know whether it's some oil thing or something else.
Apple cider.
Can't remember what it was. This is usually not this boring.
I came
Well,
to
I
live.
have a question.
Okay, thank you. You always come to my rescue.
Well, it's. I thought I had saved something on the Library of Virginia website so I could find it again. And when I went back, it just took me to the search page instead of what I'd found. And I've been trying to relocate it different ways. And
What was it about?
well, it was about, well, I have ordered several of the Virginia public claims books.
Yeah,
And when I looked on there, I thought I'd seen in Amherst County that
yeah,
that William Alford was the commissioner of public claims. But
okay.
when I got the Amherst book, it only says that he contributed something, and it lists other people as the commissioners. But I
Well,
thought I'd found on the Library of Virginia that he was the commissioner. I must have been wrong. I must have
no,
misinterpreted.
you you may have, but he may have been the commissioner for the specific tax and not the commissioner for public claims.
Hmm.
And also, that's not necessarily a job that you held throughout the Revolution. So there
Yeah,
may
I
have,
was wondering about that.
yeah. So the Abercrombie and Slatton public claim books are actually a subset of the public claims. They're just the public claims in one series of records. So there, in fact, are, I believe, 3 different series of records in the Library of Virginia that deal with public claims. So I
Right,
don't,
because I'd have to look again, but the Abercrombie and Slatton seemed to be like 1782 and 83 or something like that. And I wondered, well, where's all the rest of it?
right. And I really think that's the case, is that nobody, I have touched all 3 series for an article that I wrote in the NGSQ on Captain George Markham's Company of Connecticut Militia, which actually was Chesterfield County, Virginia militia, misidentified by their compiled military service records.
Oh
And
boy.
yeah, so it was fun. There were 77 soldiers, and I identified that 76 of them were in fact from Chesterfield County, Virginia.
How did they
They,
get mislabeled?
well, there was the Connecticut Historical Society published a book on soldiers in the Revolution, 2 of them, in fact, 2 volumes. And in one of the volumes, they identified a militia unit from Connecticut that was at a battle in September of 81. I think it was either 80 or 81, whatever year Yorktown was. I guess it was 81. And then these people in their pensions said that they were at the Battle of Yorktown, or some of them said they were at the Battle of Yorktown. And there's no physical way they could have fought in a battle in September and been in Yorktown in 2 weeks. You couldn't do it. even if you went by ship, and the militia wouldn't have gone by ship. And we know how Washington's army came from the north into Virginia, but this unit was already in Virginia, and they just went there. So I found all the names of the unit, went to the compiled military service record, and pulled out all the names, found the muster rolls they were on, and they were Virginia militia. But I had to prove that they were, in fact, Virginia militia and not Connecticut. And some poor fool who had this, some poor guy in Connecticut who had the same name as a guy in Virginia had something like 49 DAR descendants attached to him for service in the Connecticut militia when they're not the same guy. It was just so much fun. But I had to water it down big time so that we wouldn't destroy all these all these connections in such a way that the DAR wouldn't like me anymore.
Well,
But-
they should be taking these, saying that there
Well,
should
they
be a
have.
line on there saying
They-
that future
they-
applicants have to prove.
They have done that.
Oh, good.
Because they got the article as soon as it came out because I took it to them. But, well, because it identified all these Virginians now who were eligible for DAR service when the DAR would have said, no, these guys are Connecticut militia, they're not Virginia militia, so therefore you don't have the right service. You've got the wrong guy. And now because of that, we're able to demonstrate that these are actually Virginians, and Virginians under these 76 names can now join the DAR. But there was a George Markham in Connecticut. It just wasn't that George Markham. But in the process of doing that, I touched the public claims, all the public claims material series, not all the public claims, obvious, but I was looking for these people in the public claims, not only in the Slatton books, but also in the stuff in the Library of Virginia.
Well, how do you learn how to use that website better? Practice?
I guess I can put that on the list of things to do. But I'm finding that what works really best is if I find a specific thing to work on the website and then talk about the specific thing. Like one of the things I want to talk about is the chancery suits in Virginia and how to use them. And I've started working on.
That'd be good, but talk about public claims in the Library of Virginia.
Well, yeah, I have talked about public claims, but just the Abercrombie and Slatton stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Not the other stuff. And I can't talk about that until I actually go to the Library of Virginia and photograph some of the material, because that stuff is not online.
Right. You just get the link. You just get the
Right.
citation. You don't
Yeah.
get.
So I mean, you can get the citation
So I
online.
don't know
but
how
the
I
actual-
found that he was, if he wasn't, or I misinterpreted it. So anyway, the
Well-
other thing is, on the DAR website, I'm talking about Pierce Bailey. This is the one I got in the DAR on. It only says that his patriotic service was his donation of whatever he donated. It doesn't say, which is in the book, in this Abercrombie and Slatton Loudoun County book, but when you get the book, the booklet, he was actually the commissioner of claims, I guess, for 1782, 83. It was just that one part. But DAR doesn't say that. You would think that they would, if he was actually the commissioner of public claims, that they would say that.
But did you say that in your application?
No.
Okay. Then it's your
I got
fault.
on.
It's your fault, not their
I got
fault.
in through my. I just found this out.
Well,
and I got in
the next
years
time,
ago.
the DAR doesn't change anything in its system except through an application. In other words,
If I find out something new, they're not going to put it on there.
they're not going to put it on there. So what you have to find is somebody who is going to go in under him and then have them add that to their application. And you know all the
Oh.
people who descend from him, right?
Yeah, but the ones I know are already in on it. So.
Right. But they're going to have kids
Oh,
that are going to join the DAR.
I see.
That's the only way that they'll change it is from an application.
Hmm.
That's just one of their rules. I mean, it's just weird, but that's how they've
That's
decided to.
them.
Well, they're their rules. It's their organization.
Yeah.
Now
But
there
other
should,
people would want to know that too.
but they don't necessarily have to get that from the DAR. You can write an article in the Virginia Magazine of Genealogy about Pierce Bailey, or somewhere else, or put it on the web or whatever that says all that.
Okay.
You can put it in your ancestry tree. People are looking at your ancestry tree.
Well,
One of the
that
things
I
that-
can do.
Yeah, one of the things that I need to think about is a commissioner is appointed by who? Was the commissioner appointed by the county? Was
Or
the
the
commissioner
governor.
appointed by the state on the recommendation of the county? Is there something in the order books that talk to him being appointed commissioner of claims?
All I've seen is in the Abercrombie and Latin. So
Well,
I haven't looked.
there should be something in the order books where he gets appointed by the court, because he can't just announce that he's the commissioner of
Oh, I
claims.
know that, but
He has to have authority. So what's the authority for becoming the commissioner of claims is what the question is.
right.
And is there paperwork associated with him being appointed commissioner? And then if that were the case, you would know for sure what was going on. And you would also know when he stopped doing it, because somebody would be appointed in his place. Because he was appointed in place of, he's either the first one or he was appointed in place of somebody.
Hmm. He might have been the assistant. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm interpreting what I'm seeing correctly, but
Well, you can always send it to me and I'll have a look.
okay. Well, the
It isn't
assistant.
like you don't have my
would,
email.
Yeah, I got it. That the would the assistant be appointed by the county, the state, or the governor, or just the main one?
He's a person in authority. It doesn't matter. He has to be appointed by somebody. He can't just announce that. I mean,
Right.
he could announce
Sure.
he was the intern. He could announce that he was the helper, but he couldn't announce that he was the assistant commissioner of claims.
Right.
Because what's the job of the assistant commissioner of claims? To replace the commissioner of claims when the commissioner of claims broke. So I mean,
Or to do what the commissioner told him to do that the commissioner didn't want to do. That's what I
well,
don't.
that's possible.
I got to go
Look,
back
I
and
became
make
the
sure.
genealogist I've become because my mentor sent me all the cases she didn't want to work. She only did Civil War, so anything that was too big for her to deal with, like a VA grant for Ford in the West that wanted material, or other wars than the Civil War, she just turned over to me.
She only wanted to do Civil War.
She only wanted to do Civil War. Yeah,
Good way to learn.
yeah, no kidding. And that was back in the day where I only did Navy research. I had no clients whatsoever. I had one client in a year, and it was contemporary, so that wasn't much help. But anyway, so that should handle your commissioner of claims piece. But you need to figure out whether it's Commissioner of Revenue, Commissioner of Claims, or Commissioner of the specific tax, because all three of those occur at the same time period.
Okay, well, even on the first page of the Loudoun County booklet, the Abercrombie and Slatton, his name is in the first. You open the book, and there is the first claim, and the one who gave him the certificate was Pierce Bailey.
Okay.
And then all through the book, and then in the back of
Okay.
the book in the index, you've got his name time after time. So, but I don't know anything about who appointed him. So,
I don't either, but my expectation is that he's appointed by the state, and his appointment will be found in the executive papers.
executive papers. Okay.
There
See,
is something.
that's what I got to learn how to do is find stuff on that website. But then it's only on microfilm, right?
I assume that you've plugged his name into the Library of Virginia website as a general search.
Yeah.
And what does anything pop up that is interesting?
I'll have to do that again because this was several weeks ago I did it. But
And then the other thing I would search for would be, I would just type in Commissioner of Claims appointments,
okay.
see what pops up. And then you can always, send an email to an archivist and ask them. Maybe they know. And if you're lucky, they will. But recognize it's a very niche thing, Commissioner of Claims, in a very short time period. And so if they're generalists, they may not know a thing about it other than to say, well, public claims were published by Iberian or whatever. But that'll work. In fact,
Is the Abercrombie and Slatton is published by Iberian?
yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sure I saw that, but I forgot.
Well, I mean, it's we at Heritage Books carry it, of course, because we carry all his books. All the books we know about, we carry. It's the best way to put that.
Well, thank you for your help.
Sure.
What happens when your DAR application is approved and is later found to be wrong? Do you get booted?
No. You don't get booted, but it just means that nobody else can come in under your information. And that's when you look at the DAR website, it says, this has to be proven, blah, blah, blah. That means that they've decided that what's going on here is not true. So they put a block on the line until it gets figured out by new applications.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they figured out that your line was wrong was a new application. So if they have accepted you, if they've accepted an application and then they come back and say it's not any good, what they're relying on is somebody else's application. So it may be that other person's application isn't really good. So, I wouldn't leave it at that. I would want to figure out what's going on.
But isn't it their job to figure out if it's right or
No,
wrong?
no. What they're doing is they're reacting to applications. So that's all they can do is react to an application. And if they look at the application, they see that that appears to be correct, and then they compare that application to the prior application and they don't match, they decide which one of these two is the correct one. And they could just as easily have said, to the new application, no, you're wrong. Look at this old application. but they believe that the new application was correct and that the old application was wrong. And that's generally what happens because most of the old applications are wrong.
Yeah, but they should be looking at some documentation to make their decision.
They are, but they're looking at the documents in isolation.
Yeah.
Okay, they're looking at, when somebody proves something, they're proving it with one document, and that document could be a lie. Because it's only been recently
Especially if you want to get in the DAR.
well, it's only been recently that the DAR has come to apply the genealogical proof standard to their applications.
Right.
That's a recent thing. It's not. I mean, in 1973, they said everything before 1973 is problematic, but it wasn't until this century that the DAR decided that the genealogical proof standard was important. And a lot of it had to do with because people were sending applications where their proofs were based on something like tax lists and the genealogical proof standard. And the DAR's response before this had always been, you don't know that that guy is that guy. Prove that that guy in that tax list is that guy. And you haven't done that. And so people would go and do that, and then they were sort of stuck. And they don't have, they have good people, and they have people who know how to evaluate applications, but they don't have people who know how to apply the genealogical proof standard to a complex problem. That's not their job.
Mm. Or they'd never get any of them approved.
Exactly. And they have time constraints. I mean, they have to approve
They're
so many.
already a year behind because of COVID or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're only a year behind, that's a minor miracle.
Right. Maybe it's more than that. I'll tell you one thing. There's this chapter in DC called the Eleanor, well, it used to be called the Eleanor Carruthers Wilson chapter. Now, I don't know if they dropped Carruthers out of there, but yeah, I think they did. It's now the Eleanor Wilson chapter because they don't take any proof that anybody's family has ever said that her maiden name was Carruthers. Well, I've done a lot of work on that, and I'm pretty sure that her maiden name was Carruthers, but they don't think so. They won't take
Well, they sure started out that way.
taking it, right?
Yeah.
Because the family said so.
And it's the chapter who's responsible for assuring what the name of their chapter is. It's not the DAR itself.
No.
No, they choose the name of their chapter. I mean, it may have to be approved by the DAR, but
Well, now on the website it just says Eleanor unknown. So I'd like I guess like you're saying, if I found out real proof that their main name was Carruthers, they're not gonna take it if I send it up there. It has to be somebody applying.
that no, that's not necessary for the name of the chapter. But the only way to deal with the only way to deal with the DAR is to write an article in a peer-reviewed journal outside of an application.
Okay. I doubt if I'll ever have that much proof, but I'd like to. She's the lady that says Cornwallis.
Say what?
She, according to, well, the family story, and that got put in this book, 1850 book by Elizabeth Elliot, Women in the Revolution.
Right.
She, Cornwallis, they came there and took over the farm in Mecklenburg County and made her feed them. And he wanted to take her younger sons into the British Army And she said not only would she not do that, but she and her younger sons would go join and fight against him. So she is said to have sassed Cornwallis.
I'm not sure I believe that.
No, but it's a good story.
Um, is that in what?
It's in volume 3 of, I think that it's Women in the Revolution. I don't know the whole title, but her Elizabeth Ellet, Ellet.
I know who Ellett is because we published her Domestic History of the American Revolution. But I don't know about her book on women in the Revolution. Other than the one, there is a book on some Pennsylvania women, but I don't know of.
There's 3 volumes of it,
Okay,
and
on my list.
and Eleanor Wilson is in the 3rd volume. I've been to her grave and everything, so. Well, evidently the lady that formed the DC chapter must have thought she did it, but they wouldn't have named it after her.
Well, I thought she was from down south.
Yeah, but some lady who descended from her, she's from Mecklen. Well, she was originally from Chester or Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, but they went down to Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. But somebody who descended from her, when they were naming the DC chapter, they named it for her.
Well, that is interesting.
Yeah, but it's the same thing as the Mecklenburg Declaration. It's a great story, but there's not enough actual proof.
Right. Seems like there's a lot of that going on in Mecklenburg County.
Right? But that thing I sent you, if there's no proof, how'd they get that whole list of names?
Well, all they had to do is go to a tax list.
Oh,
Well, Women in the American Revolution in 3 volumes is available from Townsend Press, or Townsend's, and it's very inexpensive. I
well,
couldn't afford.
and they're also ebooks. I've got all 3 ebooks.
Yeah. Yeah, actually got a bunch of books by her. I think I've got one called Colonial Women, and one called Children. Maybe I'm just confused.
Draper doesn't seem to say anything about her, which I was looking for. But he does mention her son's wife's mother and what she did. So,
Well, I mean, Draper lived from a world of limited time and limited space, and you know, carried everything on his horse or mule, depending. I never can find a book when I want it. When it's not a book that has,
but there's really no documentation. It's just what she got. Well, at the end of it, she says she got it from Milton Andrews Haynes, who was the great grandson, and it's just what he
Yeah, so
told her that the Wilson family says.
yeah,
There's
well,
no documentary proof of anything.
yeah, I can't find what I'm looking for. Well, and I doubt seriously you'll find it because is there a document that describes you cussing somebody out on the street
Right.
because they cut you off? I mean, we don't document
Yeah.
road rage unless the police are involved. And tell me who the police were there.
Okay,
Yeah.
like if Cornwallis had arrested her for what she said, there might be some document about it, but he didn't.
It's unlikely that Cornwallis would have arrested her. It's unlikely she even saw Cornwallis. I mean, because she lives in Mecklenburg County, right? So
Yeah, but they came through there.
when did they come through there?
Well, it was before Kings Mountain. Well, at least this is what the Ellett book says. That's all I know is what the Ellett book says.
I would look for the book on Southern campaigns of the American Revolutionary War
And see if he went through.
and see if Cornwallis even hit Mecklenburg County.
Right. That would be good to know.
Um, I think I'm wondering if I do have a map book, but I don't know whether it deals with green or not. See, because before, yeah, it looks like
Repeat the title that you just said, the
uh,
campaign.
Southern campaigns in the American Revolutionary War. It's what comes to mind. I have no memory of them ever being in Charlotte. I mean,
Supposedly
they could,
Tarleton was there with him.
yeah, they could be on the way to Guilford Courthouse. So in Josh Howard's book on the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, you might find something. I think that's Babbitt and Howard. And I have that book at the house. If I remember, I'll try to look at it.
And do you have an author on the Southern campaigns?
I don't. Let me see if I can find one for you. I may have that one here. Um, it's called Southern Campaigns in the American Revolution. It's by Dan W. Morrill,
Morrell.
ILL.
Morrill. Okay.
And the company that published it was Nautical and Aviation Press.
That's interesting.
considering I sell all of Nautical and Aviation Press books because I bought them when they ceased publication, but that book had already gone out of print when I bought them.
Mm. So I'll have to try to find it in the library.
Yeah, that's what I would do. But you can buy used copies for $5 on Amazon.
Oh, okay. That I think I can afford. Except if I bring in another book, he's going to kill me.
Oh, well,
That's why it's good for me to buy ebooks, because he doesn't know that I bought one.
Hmm.
And it doesn't go in the stack on the floor.
well, unfortunately, this is not available as an ebook.
Well, I figured older ones wouldn't be.
Well, some of the older ones that have been, I mean, if we would have had, I've been in touch with the author, trying to convince him to allow me to reprint another of his books, not this one. The problem with this one is there's too much color in it, and this book isn't any good unless it has color, unless you can do the color plates.
Mm.
And you know, so I just can't do it and have it work out well. But he did a book on the Civil War in the Carolinas that I want to reprint, but he's not responding to me.
Mm. Just in
he's
the past.
Sure, I'm pretty sure he's a Mecklenburg guy because he writes about historic Charlotte, and which is a illustrated history of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County.
Oh, that would be good too. But you don't have that one, do you?
No, I don't have that one either. But you can buy that one for $3.86 in hardcover on Amazon.
Oh, no. Well, okay, I'll be busy after
I'm
this.
not after him. I'm not after him to reprint that one. The Civil War in the Carolinas sells for $54.18 new, but you can buy it for $5 too used.
Mm.
And I enjoy that book. I've read that book, and I've actually read both the Southern campaign book and the Civil War in the Carolinas book by him. So, but I've sent him messages and texts and letters, but he's never responded.
Well, just in the past, I've been looking for the 2 volumes on Mississippi for the territorial paper of the United States for about 20 years. And I found them last week on eBay for a very, very, very good price. And the big package came yesterday, and he wasn't happy with it.
I don't know how to respond to that. I don't
It's
associate
my money, but he doesn't like it, the clutter of all the books.
I don't associate with people who don't like books.
Oh,
I
he
learned
likes his books.
I learned very early on not to spend time with people who don't like books.
Well, it's the kind of books. He likes his books. He
Of
just
course,
doesn't like my kind of.
of course.
If it's computers or theology or Gilbert and Sullivan, it's fine, but
So
not genealogy.
what other questions do we have today?
Thank you for helping me.
Sure. Nothing.
I think I'm just brain dead.
I've been suffering from COVID fog for longer than I would like to think.
I did presentation Monday night and one Tuesday morning, and I don't think I've recovered yet.
What did you do them on?
Monday night was directories, and Tuesday was newspapers. Tuesday I was at Indian River in Florida. And Monday I was in Oklahoma State.
Isn't that the closest genealogical library to you, Dot? Indian River?
No, there's a, well, I don't, they have a genealogy collection, Cocoa Library.
Yeah, but I bet you it doesn't compare to Indian River.
I haven't
Indian
been,
River's good.
I haven't been there.
Yeah. I've spoken there a couple of times in person. Sell them a lot of books. I can judge a library by how many books I sell them. So I have sold books to Coco, but not that many. Well, if we're going to be quiet, then we're going to call it the end. We need to get more people to do this.
Yeah, more people with more questions.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
I could ask you that question that I proposed to Jana, but it would take more time than we got.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that question. And that we were
What's it
supposed.
about? Now you've got me curious.
I could ask you about Quakers, but I don't know anything about Virginia.
What do you mean you don't know anything about Virginia? If you want to know about
I
Virginia,
don't have any Virginia,
oh, I was gonna
except the one Hessian soldier.
have you
That's
gone
my
to
Virginia connection.
Have you gone to Marshall yet to get his file?
To where?
Marshall College?
No, not yet. Not yet. He kind of got pushed down the list for some other things I was working on.
The first thing you want to do is download the finding aid, because the Johannes Schwam collection is housed at, is it Franklin Marshall College? I think that's the name of it. But anyway, if you Google Johannes Schwam collection, that's the Hessian organization in the U.S.
Okay.
And I think it's Franklin Marshall College is the repository of their materials, and they have a finding aid, a PDF file that's downloadable of what they have in their collection, and that is a by name finding aid
Okay.
because they identify which box the guy is in. They don't do research questions.
Okay.
In order to do you have to go there to research.
Okay.
But that's the best place to start doing.
Okay.
Once you've confirmed that you actually have a Hessian,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good place to start. I mean, the first place to confirm whether you have a Hessian or not is the Katrina on the Marburg Archives website,
Okay.
Germany.
The in-out schedule I sent you
Yes.
for land is as a result of looking for him
Okay.
in Jefferson County, Ohio, which is where he went from there.
Well, he was trying, at that time period, he was trying to get as far away from people as he could.
No, Jefferson was pretty active. There were a lot of Quakers down there.
Yes, there were, but are you talking in 1805, 1810? Or are you talking in
No,
1798?
1798.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, by that time it's because the
No,
national,
1798.
it's because the
Yeah,
national
okay.
road is just being built out to there by
Mhm.
that time, and they're basically taking Braddock until they until they hit Fort Duquesne, Pittsburgh, and then they go across through Wheeling and into Belmont, Jefferson, and Columbiana.
When I started looking for him in Jefferson County, I immediately found him. He was one of the first entries because they had one tiny volume of entries, 1795 to 1799 or something like that, and then they got bigger books. But the first page that I found him on, I also found Gary's Blackburns on. And so that sent me down a whole new thing. If I'm looking for the bees in the indexes, because the indexes are all, alphabetical for a batch of years. So if I'm looking for blackburns, I might as well look for barn houses or vice versa. So that's how I ended up with over 200 deeds that I need to figure out ins and outs.
Do you know what happened to Sarah Barnhouse's? Is it Sarah Barnhouse out of Noble County? What was her name?
She passed away.
I know, that's what I'm asking.
It wasn't
You know what
Sarah.
happened? Wait, it wasn't Sarah. It was. Her name was Barnhouse, and she was in Noble.
Her name was Barnhouse. Yeah.
She was in Noble County, and she's passed. But I would see if I could find out who got her papers.
Yeah, that would be good. She's the one who told me, who gave me my connection to the Barnhouses, because I went down to Stark County to see Dr. Schweitzer doing a presentation there. And after his presentation, we went up to the library, and of course they have everybody sign in. And Gary signed us in and said, go talk to that lady. And I said, why? And he said, because look at this. And I looked, it was her. And he said, she's Barnhouse. So I talked to her, and somewhere I had her card, but I don't think I have it anymore.
Well, when I lived in Lovettsville, in Loudon, she came and visited us.
Okay. Well, she found the airship petition in Nebraska that gave me the marriage for my my last barn house direct. Margaret Ellen, I had to think what her name is, who married a Chrisman.
She's been gone at least a decade, I think.
I think so. Yeah, very long time.
And I don't know why I think Sarah, but I don't think that's right.
No, it's not right, but I can't think what it is. Okay, let me do my. Oh, wait, I might have it in my database.
Oh, I got a picture of her. No, that's not her. It just looks like her.
Oops. Oh, my computer's running really slow today. Glad that's today.
But if you could find her papers, that might be helpful, because she was by far the most knowledgeable person about barn houses, especially Quaker barn houses.
Yeah. The last time I talked to her, a couple of years before she passed, she did not have any information on my barn house. She said, I can't figure out where he fits because he's not part of this group and he's not part of this group, and I don't know who he is. Okay, so that didn't help much. So she didn't know him. But okay, I am going to find her name. What's her name?
So this guy was a Quaker?
No, Gary's Blackburns were Quakers in Jefferson County.
Barnhouse is the Hessian?
Barnhouse is the Hessian. And
Well,
he was a Lutheran.
Well, that's why you can't find anything, because he's the immigrant.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have anything to connect him to.
Correct. Because at that point in time, I still thought that he was part of the Germans who came into, or the Barnhouses who came into the Williamsburg area way back when, that I'd had a psychic experience with, but wasn't them.
But he met, depending on when he quit being a Hessian, he may have been from Williamsburg, because that was, like, if he wasn't at Saratoga and not a convention prisoner, and convention prisoners ended up in Albemarle Barracks in Stanton or Charlottesville. And some got dropped off in Lancaster and Frederick, Winchester. But if he was with them at Yorktown, if he was a Hessian at Yorktown, then he would have ended up in Williamsburg. Because
Okay.
that's the prison camp they put the prisoners, the Hessian prisoners from Yorktown in. So have you gone out to Katrina and looked to see if he's there?
To where?
The Hatrina. It's the list of Hessian soldiers created by the Hessians.
I think that might have been the one you sent me to before, but I don't remember right now.
Well, it's online at the, if you just type in Katrina, I think it shows up. Hetrin and Hertrina,
Okay.
and there is a bunch of stuff shows up. If in fact, when you type that in, Johannes Schwamm Historical Association collection shows up also, as do a bunch of other websites.
K Barnhouse Stout.
K Barnhouse Stout. That's it. Yep, that's
That's where you got the S.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I need to work on him again, but maybe this winter I'll have some time to do that. But
So the first one that shows up. Here, let me share my screen.
okay.
And this is the archives that it's in. If you just type in Hatrina into Google, it will take you
Okay.
to this website. It looks like, let me back this up. Hessian Troops in America's Simple Church. And that's what you want to click on. And that'll take you to the German archives. And you can, let's just type in Barnhouse. I assume that it's Barnhaus.
Probably at that time, yes.
No results. So let's try. Because I don't think it's anglicized, but
It was by the time they got to Jefferson County. So
well, I'm sure it was. So what we can do is we can go to Google Translate. And take the English. Let's go English. Barnhouse. And then translate to German.
it's not even a barn anymore.
No, but see, that's that's what his name would mean in German. So, but how does it change if we make him one thing?
Mhm.
So Schuenhaus. So let's see if there's one. There's always the possibility he just changed his name, and you're going to be out of luck. Nope. So if we go to Johannes Schwamm Historical Association collection, which is at Franklin Marshall, not Marshall, Franklin and Marshall College
Franklin and Marshall. Okay.
in Marshall. And see where it says complete inventory. And then you can somehow see the print. I think that might be it. But somewhere there's a finding aid to this
There it
collection.
is. Finding aid. You just got to it.
Okay. But it's a downloadable thing.
Okay.
I have it somewhere.
I will try to check him out one of these days. As I've got back to him through those Jefferson County land records, I'm confirming the connections to his sons and
If
my
you,
guy, my homesteader in Nebraska is his great grandson.
yeah, and don't forget I wrote an article on how to do Hessian research in the NGS magazine. Did you see that?
Yeah, we talked about that. I think we found it was 1970 something.
No, it wasn't
Does that
1970.
sound right? Okay.
No, it's in the last 10 years.
Okay.
What does Hatrina mean?
It's an abbreviation for Hessian Truppen in America. HE, Hessian, Truppen,
Okay.
T-R-I-N-N-A, America. Katrina.
Thank you.
And you know, I didn't know that till just this very moment.
Glad I asked.
No, I've always called it the Hatrina and just thought that was the nickname for it. But because of the way they set this up, you probably can't see it, but the way they set this up, they put what the name of it is, Hesha Truppen in America. And I realized that it was Hetrina.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out very well. But what I'm looking for is, let's see, Anspach. There, I need to find this. Amrev Hessian has other information out there that deals with here it is. So one of the things you're going to want to look at is this Hessian DNA website to see if your barn house is there and individual names of Hessians. So we should be able to find him in Hessians Remaining in America by Mertz, theoretically. Now, there's also the possibility that he's actually not a Hessian, that he's Anspach, Bayreuth, that he's Waldeck. There were two kinds of Hessians. And there were other there were like 9 different places. That's off the top of my head.
Well, he's supposedly from Data Road in Hesse Castle.
Okay.
My German isn't very good. Just because I was a Chrisman doesn't mean my German's good.
But didn't they actually? It's good you know that where he's from, but didn't they kind of lump any German mercenary and call them a Hessian, whether they were from Hesse or not?
Yes.
That's what I thought, yeah.
What was his first name?
Christopher. Well, Johann Christopher, but
There's a Bonnert Johann Nicholas, but I don't see a barn house.
yeah.
So this will be fun.
Oh, yeah.
But
They
maybe I'm
usually
just
are.
not far enough. And then his other name was what?
Johann
Schu-
Christopher.
no,
Oh,
Schuon.
Schoonhouse. Okay.
Books.
Oh, I found him in the marriage records in wherever that was, Lovettsville.
At New Jerusalem or at the Lutheran Reformed Church?
New Jerusalem.
Okay. Did you? So the next question is, are there any barn houses buried in New Jerusalem other than, are there any barn houses buried there? You know,
I
because
don't know.
maybe,
I didn't look. Oh, spam.
yeah.
Because he's buried in Ohio.
So did you find him in Marty Hyatt's book on church records?
I didn't look at Marty Hyatt's book on church records.
She's published New Jerusalem church records. She's published Loudoun County with us, Loudoun County church records in 2 volumes. And that would explain why Kay came to visit us in Loudoun County.
Yeah. Marty, okay.
Anyway, so you wanted this
I'll look for Marty's book.
Amrev Hessian place.
Yeah. Okay, another one of my projects to do.
Okay. So anybody have anything else? I guess we're done. Are we well done?
Well, it worked
think so.
easier to get here today.
Huh?
It worked very easily to get here today.
Yeah, it did. And I upgraded the GoToMeeting, so now I can put it up without much difficulty. So it becomes part of the history of the channel. So it'll be up tomorrow. I just have to go in and put the Just Genealogy tag in the front, the Just Genealogy tag in the back, kind of thing. Too much fun.
Oh, the presentation you're doing tomorrow, this will be our last one on GoToWebinar. After that will be Zoom
Oh, okay.
because
I was going to offer to
Florida's not going to do it anymore.
I was going to offer to let you use mine. So
They decided to go ahead and buy one because we've got SIGs and stuff too. So,
okay.
but yeah, we're good for tomorrow. They're still doing it. That's the last day. So,
Yeah,
but it'll work out.
I'm sure it will.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Sure. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Mhm. Happy birthday, Dot.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think. Isn't it
Close
tomorrow?
enough.
Yeah, one more trip around the sun.
One more trip.
My brother-in-law's birthday tomorrow.
Huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.